And welcome to another episode of the Kids Ministry Collective podcast. My name's Tom Bump, and I'm your host. Thanks for joining me, my friends. Whether you're listening on audio or you're watching this on our new YouTube channel, yes, if you didn't know it, we do have our podcast is now on YouTube. So if you like to watch along and see it recorded live, then go check out Kid Ministry Collective on YouTube, and you can watch these podcasts, subscribe to it and respond and ask questions, and we're glad to answer your questions. Got to give a shout out to several brand new members of the Kid Ministry Collective community and the Kidmin Plus community for joining, because we've got some brand new to ministry leaders, and I love that. In fact, we've got some great things coming for brand new leaders. I'm going to do something that I haven't done before. And so if you're interested, please, you're going to want to email tom@tombump.com. Don't waste any time, or comment in the Kid Ministry Collective Facebook book group below this podcast that we're promoting this week, and say, hey, I'm interested in this new leaders group. I'm going to do a coaching group for brand new ministry leaders. These are anybody that has 5 years or less experience. So if you're a new ministry leader and you would love to have someone that is further down the road, and as I like to say, seasoned leader, help mentor and encourage you, that's what this group's going to be all about. It's a safe place for new leaders to come and ask questions, to learn together, learn from each other, but also then to learn from somebody that's a little further down the road than they are. So if that's you, check it out. We're going to try to put something up on kmccoach.net as well, but be sure to just email me at tom@tombump.com. So I want to dive into this episode, and this episode is all about learn, grow, and thrive in Kidmin. I had someone ask me recently a great question. We were doing a KMC Coach clarity call, and they asked me, and honestly, I've never been asked this way, if you could name off 5 things that a leader, especially a newer leader to ministry, because this was a newer leader, should do, what would be those things if you were starting all over again? And it was funny because a long time ago, I did a breakout called Dear Younger Me. And I sat there and thought about that. And so it got me thinking again in that question again. And actually, it got me thinking about the breakout and how I need to do a workshop on this. And so that may be coming. If you're interested, let me know. But I started thinking about, what are 5 things that I would want to know as a newer leader in ministry. And so here they are. I'm going to give you 5 things that I think are important. So whether you're a new leader or a seasoned leader, I think these are all good things for us to be thinking about. How am I doing in these areas? And what am I doing in these areas? So the first thing would be learning from others. So many of us end up learning, we know that experience is the best teacher, but you know what? It's not your own experience that you should always be learning from. In fact, if that's all you learn from, you're going the rough way. And I think if I were to look back, and if I were to say to young Tom, starting out in children's ministry leadership in my first church, it would have been find some people further down the road. Find some leaders that are in the same place as you, and find some that are behind you and learn from them. It's important that we learn from each other, and we learn from each other's experiences, good and bad, but we need to have that and value that. And sometimes we don't value it enough, meaning we just come because learning is not just listening and absorbing content. It's learning and absorbing content, but then asking questions to get clarity. It's offering pushback. It's asking for different perspectives. It's getting that insight that is not just caught when we just sit and absorb and have somebody lecture to us. And so that sometimes that's the downside, I think, sometimes to just attending ministry conferences. If that's the only place that you learn from, then you're really sitting in front of the fire hose hoping to get something of value rather than like when you're in a coaching journey, like a one on one thing, or even in a coaching group, a small group, you have that opportunity to ask the right questions and to get insight. And so, one of the things that I'm always encouraging younger leaders, and this is something that my coach has impressed upon me, and as I coach new leaders, any leader, I'm always challenging them to say, are you asking the right kind of questions? I want to encourage you, don't just simply ask, well, how do you do this? How do you do that? But ask why. Why did you choose that approach? Why did you choose that curriculum for yourself? Why did you choose that check in system? Why do you choose to train your volunteers this way versus that way? And how has that impacted the ministry? How did you, why did you do this and how did it happen? How did you take those next steps? What kind of pushback did you get? Where did you learn from your mistakes? See, we've got to gain deeper understanding. And sometimes it's asking people why they did those things, not just how they did those things. So, one of the things, if I were to advise a new person, is always carry a list of good, in depth seeking questions and have them ready. And when you get around other leaders, ask those questions. So if you're heading in and we're getting into that time of year, as I'm recording this podcast, it's in September. And this is when some of the ministry conferences, both online and in person, start revving up. I would carry a list. I would have it in your phone and on your iPad, on wherever, but I would keep a list in whatever you keep notes in and have it ready to get around and ask other leaders. It's sad how many times, and this is why I don't always love ministry conferences, because a lot of speakers tend to hide in green rooms and or they go back to their hotels. They're not accessible. There are some that are and there are some that aren't. And the leaders that don't make themselves accessible, that can't give you any time when they're at a conference, those aren't the people I want to learn from. And those people that are just, one hit wonders, they've been in one place. Now, I'm not saying if you're in one place for longevity, that's awesome. But there are some people that their experience is, they've got 5 years ministry experience and they've been in one church and, okay, well, your experience is going to be limited, but there's still some value I can learn from you, but I'm not going to follow you in depthly. I'm going to go after that leader that's got some experience and depth and has a variety of experiences and things like that. So take that list of questions and go find those kind of leaders and ask for a few minutes of your time. I love, and I've told people, if you start a coaching journey with me and you see me at a conference, you're going to get my time. I'm going to spend time with you. I want to help you grow. I want to learn from you. People that do coaching journeys with me get access and they have my cell number and they can call me beyond the normal appointment times that we have for our coaching appointments. They have access to my email. They have access to me, like I say, on my phone. I don't give that out generally to other people because I want the people who have invested in themselves and invested in a coaching journey to get that depth from me, but I want them to come ready. And so I'm always asking, what questions do you have? Bring me questions. I want questions. I want good questions. All right. So enough of that. But make sure you have a list of questions in advance. Seek out communities where you can learn from others. Find people ahead of you, find people that are currently in the same boat as you, and find some people even behind you because you can learn a ton. All right. Second thing that I wished somebody had told me that would help me to grow and to learn and to thrive is handling criticism. Inevitably, criticism's going to come your way. And if you're constantly living for the approval of others, it's going to crush you. You have to really start to insulate yourself as a leader to go for the approval of one, and that's God the Father. That's whose approval you want. You don't need man's approval on things. And inevitably, the weight of someone's words are going to hurt and they're going to cause pain. And so you have to decide, How much weight are you going to put on someone else's words? So many of us listen to what's people say on social media versus listening to what the Holy Spirit says to us or our close friend says to us. Inevitably, you're going to get criticism from someone in the church. I've said it for years. I should almost patent the saying, trademark the saying, sometimes sheep bite, because they do. The ones that you're leading, sometimes they bite you and it does hurt. But you have to differentiate between what's constructive and non-constructive criticism. You have to figure out, is this something that's going to help and build me up and build the ministry up, or is this something that's just designed to tear me down? Is this a hurt person that's just trying to get leverage? Is this a person trying to drive a point and pack an agenda versus really the motivation of helping me get better? When you start to look for those nuggets of truth in the criticism, you'll decide very quickly, yes, this is constructive, or no, this isn't, and I'm going to throw it away. The other part in handling criticism is this idea that, if you're focused on being a God pleaser, not a man pleaser, you're going to use that filter to say, God, is this something that honors you? Is this something that I can pursue you more? Is this where I can lead others forward in a better way? Or is this just something some person has as an agenda? Is it their preferences that they're trying to rule? Is this somebody that wants to be in charge and they're not willing to follow? So I want you to use this, and as you think about handling criticism, you need to start thinking ahead of time. If somebody does this, this is how I will respond and how I will not react. Because responses are prayed over. You step back and you settle the emotion and you start to consider the weight of their words. If this is not a person that's in your inner circle, you need to lessen the weight of their words. There are people in my world that are close to me, that are very close to me. And when they say something that feels harsh at first, I immediately have to and I do remind myself, hey, this is part of my inner circle and they're saying this for a reason. This is most likely, as much as it hurts, a constructive thing that I need to grab onto. Versus someone else who tries to tell me how to run my ministry or do Kid Ministry Collective or coaching or a business or whatever. I've had people criticize the way I run my quote unquote business, which to me, it's a ministry first, a business second. Yes, I charge fees for things. If I don't stay in available to help people. I can't keep doing what I do. And even what I do is I feel like is such a value and I probably should be charging way more. But I don't, because I know that God has led me to do what I do. And I've said it before on this podcast, I'm not a business person. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm not trying to be an influencer. I'm just Tom. I'm a friend to a lot of ministry leaders, and I want to help you impact the world and reach more kids. I want you to serve more parents. I want you to stay in ministry in a healthy way. That's who I am. And I've had people criticize me. Well, you know what? A lot of those people aren't in my inner circle, and their words carry nothing for me because I don't care. I'm not there to please them. I'm not here to please them. I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm not everybody's perfect coach. And that's why I tell people, look, that's why we do a clarity call. If I don't feel like I'm the right person for you, I will say it. And I don't have a problem with you coming back after a call and saying, no, you know what? This isn't the right time. Or, you know what? I don't feel like we're a good match. Hey, that's okay. You're not going to hurt my feelings. What hurts my feelings is finding out that people have been interested in getting help and they're too scared to ask for it, or they're too scared to hit that clarity call button and do it. Listen, guys, don't be afraid to handle constructive criticism. You need it. It provides valuable lessons for your growth. And oftentimes when your pastor comes to you and says hard things, they're not trying to hurt you. They're not trying to tear you down. They're not trying to throw you out. And lately I've seen this from a lot of, and please don't take this wrong. Hope you'll take this in love. And again, this is constructive criticism, but I've seen this in the younger generations and younger leaders. that when their senior leader who might be older comes to them, just because they come across as firm and this is the way it needs to go, and they feel it, they're taking this as a harsh criticism and it's personal. Listen, there are valuable lessons and you need to stop the emotion and you need to think clearly. Why are they saying this to me? What can I learn from it? Is this something meant for my good that I need to receive? Scripture talks about that God disciplines those who he loves. And sometimes our pastors have to discipline us and teach us and speak firmly to us so that we can grow. So learn to handle criticism the right way. Learn to respond, not react. All right. Third thing, we got to keep moving here, is thinking about structures and growth for your ministry. I think a lot of leaders struggle with these kind of things. Now, some of us are over the top in it, and we get so lost in systems and structures and tasks that you forget about the people behind it. And you forget. And so you start leading positionally rather than relationally. You need to find that balance. I'm more relational, but I need to build structures and systems or I won't grow. Why will God add to my numbers if I'm not ready to receive them? So you need to have a robust organizational structure and leadership development. You need to have a plan how you're going to grow your ministry. You need to say, I believe God's going to bring X number of growth to us. Now, again, children's ministry, it's hard to cause growth, but I've seen children's ministries attract families because they have done such an excellent job preparing a safe, fun environment for children that their teams are growing and they even have a waiting list for their teams. Why? Because their leaders are growing. The leaders are gaining wonderful things by serving on your teams. You have to prepare for that growth. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is to assess where you are as a volunteer. Where are you missing volunteers? Where do you need volunteers? And how are you going to go get them? Where do you need to start looking for them? Where do you need to start inviting them to come join the team? What gifts do you need on your team? Where are you lacking in the gifts of faith? And build those people, find those people, train those people. You have to prepare for growth if God's going to bring it. You also have to have a maintenance plan. So once you have them, you need to know how to take care of them by empowering them and equipping them and encouraging them and loving them. And then you need to help them to grow and take their next steps. Not everybody should stay in your team for 20 years. At some point, they need to move into something bigger or more. And that could be that they start leading a team for you and not just being a small group leader. See, John Maxwell talks about the law of the lid. And where your leadership ends is where your lid is. And so if you're not developing yourself, if you're not growing, if somebody's not challenging you to grow, then you're only going to go so far. I realized this too late. And I've said it before. If you've listened to this podcast, I waited too long to hire my first coach. I thought I know how to do ministry. I've been doing ministry for 10 years now. I'm good. I wished I had gone and got a coach way sooner because I could only lead my team as far as I was growing. And again, just going to ministry conferences isn't going to help you grow the way you think. Ministry conferences are great for encouraging. They're great for showing you that there's a bigger community out there, for exposing you to a wide variety of ideas. But let me tell you, laser growth, laser focused growth, impactful growth, dynamic growth happens when you're sitting in a intentional group or going one-on-one with a coach. So I want you to challenge you to think about, how are you investing in your structures and systems by investing in yourself? It's part of why I built the Kidmin Plus community. KidminPlus.net is a leadership community to help leaders start thinking and growing like leaders, to raise that lid higher, to develop them as a better thinker, to build, the way I say it in Kidmin Plus, is building healthy leaders that lead healthy teams, that build healthy ministries that impact their community. And it's a community that needs you and you need it. The way you grow your systems and structures is by getting around other people and learning how they're building and growing theirs, learning what a healthy organizational chart looks like, learning how to do and develop a good, solid program for how you're using your facilities and managing it, implementing and developing a comprehensive training program for your teams. All right. Next thing, because we're going too long already, is setting up boundaries. One of the key things I wish as a younger leader that somebody had walked me through is the importance of really, and lots of people talk about it now, and lots of leaders tell me, "Oh, I'm doing great on self-care and work-life balance." Are you really? Show me your calendar. Show me where you're intentionally setting time aside to unplug from everything, including social media, and focusing on you and being a child of God. Resting, renewal, refocus, solitude, silence. Show me that you have those. Show me on your calendar. Tell me who your accountability is. Who is watching, who knows the boundaries of how many appointments and how many hours away from the home you are and how many nights out that you're working. Show me that you're prioritizing your health and your family. Tell me about it. When's the last time you've taken some time off? How's your sleeping and your eating, your exercise? When you schedule time off and a day off, how often do you cheat it? Because you're working on something, answering emails, cutting things out. Yeah. You need to create some accountability systems with some trusted friends and colleagues. You need to set that time up. You need to calendar your day off and plan to rest and renew and restore. Plan for solitude and silence. You can't cheat yourself on this, folks. Trust me, I know. I did it and I failed miserably. It's why I help people now. It's why part of my coaching program talks about these things. And yes, I sound like a drill sergeant and I sound very firm and harsh, but it's because I see too many leaders who wear out before they burn out. People talk about burnout, and unfortunately, burnout has become a buzzword, and it makes me angry that people use it as a marketing tool. Listen, burnout is a spiritual issue. And if you're burning out, it is not a badge of honor. It says that you're not managing yourself well, you're not leading yourself well. And then we wonder why God's not adding to ourself, to the things that we're leading. Well, it's because why would he if you're not healthy? And we know that we reproduce who we are. So why don't people want to serve on your teams? Well, maybe because they see you dragging around, worn out, always tired, always frayed. You're burning the candle at both ends. Listen, my friends, this is no joke. If you can say you have boundaries, but they're just dreams and wishes if they're not written down and there's no accountability. I want to challenge you to think about what are your priorities, really? Does your calendar bear witness to the truth? Take a look at your last week's schedule and does it align with the things that you say are your boundaries and your priorities? Does it? If you need help, reach out. Trust me, I've walked in those valleys and I understand now better than I ever have. And I want to help serve you, or I can find someone who will serve you and help you in these areas. There are some fantastic coaches out there. There are some that are just out there because they're influencers and they like the money. But there's others coaches out there and there are other people out there that love you and serve you and want to help you. And I would love for you to find them and use them and help so that you can stay in ministry for the long haul because the kingdom needs you. God has called you for a reason and he wants you to serve with joy and abundance. He doesn't want you worn out. Yes, there's going to be hard seasons and ministry is hard. It is not easy. Stop trying to convince yourself that ministry should be easy. It shouldn't be that hard. It should be easy. Everybody should be running to my ministry to serve. Really? That's not what they did with Jesus. There was lots of opposition. Peter, Paul, James, John, they all experienced it. Stop trying to think that ministry is going to be a cakewalk. Nobody's going to stand there and give you cupcakes, my friend. It's work. It's hard. It's a battle. It's why we have to put on the armor and we learn to stand. You can do this. I know you can. God has called you and equipped you, and I'm cheering you on. Last segment and last thing that we need to think about on these top 5 things is being strategic as a leader. It is super important to have a clear vision, and a clear vision has you. Somebody got really snarky with me in a Facebook group recently because I said to a person, "You've got to have a big vision, and a big vision has to have you." And they went off on me. They didn't like that. Well, that's not just a pithy saying. It's true. What is the big vision? What's your big why? What keeps you awake? What aches your soul to keep you going? You need to have a clear vision of that. And then you need to know, how do I accomplish that big vision? My big vision is I don't want anybody to live in America and not hear about Jesus, and to know that he is inviting them into a personal relationship with him. How do I do that? Well, I got to start talking to people. I got to become a multiplication table, which means I need to train up more people to speak the words of life like I do, so that it's not just me adding people to the kingdom, it's others adding people to the kingdom, and we multiply. That's why I coach leaders. That's why I help churches build their children's ministries and help them to have fun, safe, effective environments. I want to come into a church and help them figure out why families aren't coming and why people aren't volunteering. And I do that for churches because I care and I want to multiply, because I have a big vision for the church. I still believe the church is the hope of the world. And God's not done using his church. The gates of hell will not prevail against what you and I do. But we got to have a clear vision, and we got to have a strategic direction of knowing this is what we're going to focus on. You don't have to do everything, but you got to do some things really, really well. And so having a clear vision and having a strategic direction of knowing these are the steps that we're going to do, and we're not going to get distracted. So come up with your team and show them the vision. Help them to eat, sleep, and drink it, and then to get after it. Make sure that you are taking your pastor's vision and dream as well, and making it yours and owning it. Take the mission and vision statement for the church and make it fit the ministry that you're leading, and make it your dream to do it. I encourage you to build a team around you. Get 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever you need. Spend time talking through this, dreaming about it, and then saying, how do we do it? What are the 3 or 4 things we're going to do that are going to get us to that vision and accomplishing it, seeing life change happen, seeing disciples make disciples, watching children accept Jesus as their Savior, get baptized, and then start telling others. How do we do that? It's not super complicated. You just got to go stop talking about it and be about it. All right. That's it. Those are my 5 things: learning from others, handling criticism, structure planning for growth, setting boundaries, strategic leadership. Let me tell you, that's it. That's what you got to do. Listen, if I can help you, my friends, if there's anything I can do for you, if you need a safe place to vent, if you need some help, you can go to restoringleaders.org. If you're hurting and you're feeling burned out and you're feeling overwhelmed and you've been wounded and you're just carrying these wounds in your pack and you want to get free from those, please reach out. There's no cost for that's soul care, and I do soul care. I don't charge. And I've had people criticize me for that. But I know that's what God wants me to do, is serve people through that. I mean, if you can donate, great. Donate to the ministry because you're paying it forward, but you don't have to, and I don't ask. If you need leadership help, If you need someone to help you figure out what your big vision is and your strategic steps, if you need figure out how to recruit and train and hold on to your teams, reach out. Go to kmccoach.net and hit that clarity call button. 30 seconds of courage is all it takes. Hit that button, schedule the call. Let's talk. If I'm not the right fit, I will point you in the direction of an excellently trained coach who has the experience and the training and the ability, and they're not just out there to make a buck, but they will help you grow. I want that for you because I needed it. I know you do too. Or if you're looking for a community where you can grow, come check out kidminplus.net, kidminplus.net, where you can come and be a part of a community that's growing. There's training, there's live meetups, there's free coaching sessions in there. There's all sorts of great stuff. Come check it out. All right, that's going to wrap up this episode of the Kids Ministry Collective podcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Again, we'd love to hear from you. Feel free to comment, leave a review. It just helps the algorithm in the sky pick up our podcast and throw it out in front of other people so that more people can help. Because again, we want to help healthy leaders build healthy teams that lead healthy ministries that will impact the world. God bless you, my friends. Stay tuned for another episode real soon.